I think most people who spent any time skateboarding or snowboarding or doing any kind of extreme sport have thought about starting their own brand. I thought it would be interesting to use what we learned in the last video about extracting high quality logos to grab a bunch of skate logos from the 90s and use them as inspiration to build our own skate brand from scratch. Quick reminder, this is what we built in the last video, this logo extraction playground, where we could select from any of these categories of logos and it would generate a prompt that we would then feed back into Claude Code, and it would go and extract all of the logos for us. So we're going to use this same logo extraction playground, and we're going to add skate logos from the 90s, but this time we're going to use those logos to have AI create a brand for us using the latest Gemini image model. So to start off, we're going to say, I want you to research what the top skate brands were from the 90s and then add them as a new category to our logo extraction playground. Okay, so we should be able to refresh the playground and see the new category in there. Okay, looks like it got a nice list. Not quite as many as I was hoping. Okay, this is a great list. Let's try to expand it to 30 to 40 logos total. Cool. Looks like it got some of the more obscure brands. They're all added here. So we'll grab the prompt just like we did last time, feed it back into Claude Code. This is where it goes out and actually downloads the logos. All 10 batches complete. Please open them. All right, let's take a look at what we got. Awesome. So we have some really great logos to work with here. So we're going to clear this session. And then I think what we're actually going to do is build another playground so that we can have kind of the same process where we select what logos we want to use as inspiration for our skate brand logo that we're going to create. I want to create a logo creation playground that uses the categories that we have extracted logos for from the original playground. And I want to be able to choose what logo categories that we use as the inspiration for the skateboarding brand that we want to create. So the initial use case for this is going to be selecting a series of skateboarding brands that we like, that we have already extracted the logos for, and then we're going to generate our own brand logo based on those logos that we select. However, I don't think we want to pigeonhole this logo creation playground into just skateboarding logos. We already have one playground in this project. It's for logo extraction, and this task is to create a new playground for logo creation based on those logo extractions. The playground will allow me to select logos that I like, and we will use the imagine skill that we have in our Claude configuration to generate a logo. Looks like it's doing some pretty intense quality control, so we'll just let it do its thing and then we'll take a look at it when it's finished. Let's see what it came up with. This is what we've got. We can add a brand name, tagline, select our industry, and then we've got some style direction, color modes, logo type. So this is a really great starting point. I'm always tempted to immediately start giving it feedback and telling it that it needs to fix things, but let's test what we've got and we'll go from there. So we've got these presets, select 90s skate punk, use Claude Code to come up with a fictional skateboarding brand name. Based on the skateboarding brand names that we've extracted in this project, can you come up with 10 fictional brand names for a new skate brand that would resonate with the culture in 2026? All right, we got Dead Pixel, Nowhere Co, Feral, Scrape, Hallucinate, Glitch. Let's go with Glitch. Please give me a tagline for Glitch. Give me 5 different ideas. All right, let's go with Perfect is Boring. Skateboarding industry. Let's see what happens with these. So we'll copy the prompt, go back into Claude Code, clear out the session, paste it, see what happens. So it's telling it to use the imagine skill that we have created. Imagine is a skill that I have set up in Claude Code that invokes Gemini. So it's looking like this is a pure text-based prompt. And one of the revisions that we're probably going to have to do is tell it to use the logos that we extracted as reference images to send to Google in the image request. See what it comes up with. All right, so this is the logo that we got. And the inspiration came from these 5 logos, supposedly. Let's do a round of feedback to Claude Code. Audit the logo creation playground and determine if we are sending logos as reference images to Gemini as part of the playground prompt that the logo creation playground generates for us. Right now, I think it's just text-based instruction, but we need to make sure that it actually sends the reference images to Gemini using the imagine skill. which is obviously a major issue and probably why the logo didn't turn out that great. Please create a team of agents to research the best way to implement the feature of sending reference images and then have them execute on that. All right, cool. We got our plan. Let's see what we can come up with for a second logo. See if we can make it look better than this. So let's go with all of the same defaults. So 90s skate punk glitch, and it looks like it's adding the actual reference images, which is the feature that we just added. So this time the logo should turn out a lot better, or at least a lot more closely related to the reference images. So let's copy that, paste it. So now in addition to the text prompt, it's going to include the reference images. This is what it came up with. So a little bit different. It does look a little bit more closely aligned with these logos that we used as the reference images. It would be fun to see a few other options though. Please generate 5 completely different variations, different formats, different colorways, more and less distressing. Actually make it 10 total. This is what's really powerful about generating logos like this. I mean, there's a billion different ways to generate logos with AI on the internet, but they all look really cheap and like clip art. But this actually is allowing us to ground our logo in the logos that we like. Then we're able to provide follow-up feedback to Claude, which then translates to Google's Gemini image model in a way that it can understand, so that it's translating in technical terms what we want, which ultimately results in a much better result than if you were just to try to describe the logo that you want from scratch. Okay, this is awesome. Fresh batch of logos that it came up with. Looks like it went off the rails. We got some cool stuff, but if you've worked with logo design at all, you know that these are a nightmare to translate to vector art, and especially something like this does not translate well. I mean, it could, but too busy. This is still my favorite, and I think it's probably because it was grounded in the original prompt that was a lot better structured. And when we requested the additional logos, I'm assuming that Claude didn't send the same strict instructions with the requests, so we kind of got a little bit of this crazy stuff. It's still kind of fun, but stuff like this is just out of control and we need to rein it in a bit more. So let's see what we can do. We need to make some updates to the logo creation playground. We're getting some really good results, but we need to add and enforce rules that make the logo output much more deliberately vector oriented. So instead of getting crazy art, I guess the rule would be we need to like keep things more simple, but I want you to research what those rules could or should be before implementing them. Looks like it came up with a really good plan for the vector enforcement. So we'll go ahead and approve that. Okay, one thing that's been driving me a little bit crazy is how these logos are stepping on each other. So we're going to send that feedback to Claude. In the logo creation playground, we have an issue with the UI where the logos are being stacked on top of one another. You can look at the attached reference image. Please create a team of agents to validate the image that's attached and then come up with a plan to fix the logo stacking and then ultimately to execute on that. The goal is to have a clean interface where we can easily select any logo that we want without having them stacked on top of one another. The Claude and Chrome MCP server is notoriously finicky in my experience. One of the best tips that I have is to make sure that it is looking at the right thing and then leave the tab completely alone. Like don't touch it, don't look at it, don't do anything until it actually just finishes. All right, so it was able to fix the grid issue. And I didn't realize before, but we have this nice color background toggle. Let's generate a new logo, same settings, single logo, drop the prompt in, and you can see that in the prompt. Now we have these vector style rules. So flat vector style, clean sharp edges, 2D. Some of this may conflict with the reference images that we send it. So again, it'll be interesting to see. Here's the latest one that it came up with. It does look like this is much more vector friendly, kind of cool. For whatever reason, every single logo almost has been this skull situation. I feel like we have some context poisoning going on somewhere. I don't see any references to a skull in the prompt that we give it, but that's definitely something that keeps happening. So let's ask Claude about it. It seems like every single logo variation that we've had for this particular brand has involved a skull. I'm wondering if you can tell me why or what exactly is influencing that so that we can make adjustments to the logo creation playground if necessary. so that we can get more variability. None of the reference images have skulls, and I don't believe the prompt had any skulls. So try to research and figure out why that would keep happening, or how we can add more variability to the logo creation playground prompt. Okay, 3 causes. Help me understand why you added any skull references at all when I gave you a exact prompt from the playground to run. That seems like the major issue here. We need to figure out how to make sure that you don't inject or infuse any of your own bias into the prompt that I give you. When I copy and paste a prompt from the logo creation playground, how can we make sure that you use the prompt exactly as it was given to you? See where we're at after a bunch of updates. Ironically, this is probably the most technically correct, but my least favorite of them all. So let's get a few more variations in the mix. Yes, please generate 10 additional logos using all of the different variations that you mentioned. This is a perfect example of what I love about this. Telling Claude to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I'm betting that one of these is going to turn out really cool. And then from there we can say, okay, awesome, I liked this variation. Let's see more just like it. I just realized that I changed from glitch to grip. Grip was the original before I started recording. All of the new grip logos. I actually like this. I didn't realize that the playground we built gave the option to do this. Still not a huge fan of any of these, but they're definitely getting a lot closer to something that I would consider acceptable and something that I might end up liking. Either way, they're a lot higher quality than anything you're going to generate through most of the online logo generators, in my opinion. I want to try one more though with some of the logos that I really like. I'm just going to stick with the black and white. Let's see what we get. I'm going to get a little bit crazy here. Open up 2 new Claude Code sessions, and I want to see a logo series for this same thing. And then I want to see a style sheet. All right, I'm actually excited for this one. So we got the single logo done. Now we got the series cooking and the, what's it called? Brand style sheet. Oh, here we go. I love this. It's like Christmas. These are a lot more exciting than the last several batches. I'm loving these. This one's particularly cool. Kind of got like a World Industries flair. I like these so much that I just requested 5 more of each. Yeah, these are like world-class territory in my opinion. Amazing, amazing. This is probably my favorite overall, and I'm just realizing now that it looks like there's a fist right there, which is really cool. Let's get these logos into vector format so we can actually use them. For the logo creation playground, we need to have an automated process where anytime we generate a logo, we automatically get vectors created. Research a process and a workflow. Okay, so it did create vectors for us, but this is what I was afraid of. I'm going to be amazed if it can actually do this. Yeah, I don't know how much luck we're going to have. May just need to be cleaned up manually, but it's still trying. Doesn't look like we can do much better on the PNG to SVG transformation. Getting some really sloppy results. Your best bet is just going to be to trace it in Illustrator. I'm just going to end the video right here. Hopefully you learned something.